So I have a difficult task now because I have a pretty technical story, but I'll try to launch you into the break quickly. So I'm from the Stedelijk Museum Amsterdam, and I'm part of the audiovisual art handling department. Let me lay out a quick an outline. First, I'll introduce our department, so you know a little bit what we do, and then I'll jump right into the work. What is it about? What do you see? And then I'll explain how the work actually works, the media installation. So very technical. I'll keep it brief, and then afterwards, what we did to conserve the work and the challenges we encountered. So, the audiovisual department, we are with the three of us, and actually the art we handle is the art with a power plug, or which contains bits and bytes. That's a short summary. And we do a lot of planning and managing, and that's also a part of it. And the two main tasks of our department is exhibition-wise and collection-wise. So in the exhibition we install and plan and maintain all the media art components, so all the projectors and TVs and media players. And to give you an idea, the last December we sat at a coffee table and we thought, hey, we have a lot of equipment in our exhibitions, right? How much do we have? So we started counting, and we came up on 130 screens, 30 projectors, 80 media players, and 30 computers. So that's what we had in all exhibitions together at that moment, which needed to maintain. And well, that was, I think it's the largest amount we have had until then. And of course, we have our collection. We have more than 900 collection pieces in audiovisual art. So slide projectors, installation, single screen, multi-screen, film, digital art, net art, that sort of stuff. So, next, yeah. So, I have an IT background, and I work now at the museum for 5 years. And the main thing I'm doing is automation, programming, and handling digital content. And digital content mostly for the exhibitions, so preparing it for media players, but also ingesting new content that we acquire for our collection. And I do a lot of research for digital storage and how to go about that in a good way with checksums and that sort of stuff. My colleague Jan Herman, he's not here today. He specializes mostly in film, neon, and slide projectors, and he's doing a lot of planning and floor managing of the exhibitions and managing freelancers. And Gert Hogeveen, last but not least, he's the department head, and he is doing everything. So that's what department heads do, right? So he will be retiring next year, so he's throwing everything on us. We would be here with the two of us, but he said, hey, it's your show, you do it. So, okay, the work, what do we see? The work that was on the top of our list for conservation is the media installation, primarily speaking, of Gary Hill. And it's a very important work from the 80s, and it's from one of the pioneers in the field of media installations. And I think Gary Hill produced it between 81 and 83, and it has had multiple editions before the Stedelijk Museum acquired the 8-channel piece. And as you can see here, this is just a GIF without sound. You see a lot of imagery, quickly changing video and colors. And with it is a soundtrack. There are 4 speakers in the walls, which have a soundtrack of spoken words and sentences. And the special thing about this work is that the images are totally synchronized on the words and the sentences. So, and what is so special about this is this type of synchronization couldn't be done in the 80s with standard video equipment. And Gary Hill tried it anyway, and with specialist technicians and early 386 computers. So that's what we see. And the equipment that is in the installation, and these are a few photos, is very complex. So he used the first Laserdisc players, a sort of predecessor of the DVD player. He used custom-made equipment. You see the what's the laser? Laser, yeah, laser. Custom, yeah, literally black boxes, so to say. It was a custom-made equipment that was switching signals to the monitors, and a synchronization unit. He built custom-made software on a DOS computer that would control the switcher. So there was a lot of equipment, and as you can see, a lot of difficult analog stuff we had to figure out when it came out of storage. So I'm going to explain a little bit about the structure of the work, how it actually works, so you see the complexity of it. You don't have to get everything. It's just to give you an overview. So what you have is two Laserdisc players. They both have playing separate content, and they send it to the switcher. And the switcher is that black box they made. We don't actually know what it does exactly, but it basically sends all the signals to the monitors. So the monitors are connected to the switcher, and you could see the switcher as the heart of the installation. So it's just where everything comes in and where it pumps all the signals out. And then you have the audio signals that go to the speakers, just plain stereo. And a bit about synchronization. If we talk about synchronization, what do we mean? With equipment, if we talk about synchronization, we talk about equipment falling in line with each other. So that's what we want. We want the equipment to know what time it is, and every piece to know that time and to play it at that time. So according next picture. How to get that type of synchronization was in that time very difficult. So they made also a black box, a synchronizer unit that could send signals to the Laserdisc players, and with the flip of the switch, the Laserdiscs would start playing at the same time. And so you always have one device, sort of referee, that sends a signal to everyone, hey, this is the start time, you have to start playing now. So that's the thing about synchronization. And then you have the computer. If the switcher is the heart of the installation, the computer is definitely the brain. It runs custom-made software by the technician of Gary Hill, James Jones. I believe he made the software. And the software was made in a way that Gary Hill could design actually what was going to happen in his installation. So he could, in the software, tell the switcher which signal would go to which monitor. And at the same time, it would generate signals. So what you can see, every time in this installation, this is the left side and this is the right side, you always see the left side or one video here, and the colors red, green, and blue, and a video on the right side with the colors cyan, magenta, and yellow. So, and these are always unique. So there's never on two monitors in this row a video. It is always switching. And Gary Hill designed that in his software, when to switch and how fast for 90 minutes long. That's how long the sequence is, and it's doing it live. So there's no pre-rendered files or pre-generated things except for the videos. The computer is actually sending the colors to the switcher and telling it at the same time which monitor what to do, which signal goes to which monitor. So that's the installation. And with a flick of the switch, everything starts at the same moment, and it keeps running all day long. So it's a very complex installation. And now you can see that it was on the top of our list for conservation, because it's a very fragile work. Oh, I'm not even done yet. Oh yeah, the computer needed to be in sync as well. So what they discovered is that you could put a time code in an audio signal, and if you would hear it, it would be an awful screeching sound. So they put a time code converter in it that understands that sound and converts it to a number, to a time code, which the computer actually understands. So the computer runs in sync as well. So there were a lot of obstacles for conservation, because the equipment itself is very fragile, because it's technically complex. If one device fails, the whole installation is lost. It has a lot of old equipment, so the 386 computers, they're hard to come by, and if it breaks down, try to repair it, or even if the software gets lost. And it has custom-made equipment, literally black boxes of what we don't know what it does. And where the plot thickens is, last week we built the installation in the museum, so you can see it now until Sunday evening on the first floor. If you go up the old stairs, and on the right you have you can see the installation. But when we built it last week, the switcher was malfunctioning, so we got no image, and we were like, oops. And then Gert said, "Oh, well, you have the new version, right? So you put it in. You tested it, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I tested it, but not that thoroughly." So, but we took the leap and put it out there. And well, at the end, I'll tell you how it runs. So then we started thinking about what would we like, what do we want in conserving this installation, and I was thinking out loud with Gert, and we were like, well, wouldn't it be ideal if the whole live switching sequence of all these equipment would be thrown out? However, I love this equipment and the way it was done, but it's a nightmare for in the future. So wouldn't it be nice if we could extract somehow all the colors and the videos, the whole switching sequence, and have it in digital video format and put it on a media player, and which plays all these videos in sync. So that was a sort of general idea in our head. Oh, that would be nice, but hey, can we do that? Is that ethical? And how would Gary Hill think about this? So we consulted him and his technician, and so we asked him, what is the essence of your artwork? Is that the equipment, or is it more what you see? And luckily he said, well, it's actually what you see. This is what I wanted to show, and the equipment was the only way to get the result I wanted. So, and he agreed to our idea to try to extract all this data from the installation and recreate a part of his work. So then we got started. The third thing I thought about was, okay, let's put all the outputs of the switch into a computer and record everything. Then we have the 8 channels, and then we're done. So we tried that, but it gave horrible timing errors, and the image was garbled, and it didn't work even with a TBC, time-based corrector. And then I thought, yeah, well, we can try to make this happen, but I think there is a cleaner way to do this. So I have a background also in video design. I thought, hey, we have the original videos that are on the laser displays on digital Betacam tapes. So I could capture that and put it on a timeline. And then I thought, hey, there are only 6 colors. I can recreate those because these are red, green, and blue, cyan, magenta, yellow. These are pure colors. So I could recreate those and put those on a timeline. But the only thing missing is, how do I know how long every color lasts and how many switches there are? And if you can see here, there is a lot of switching. And I thought, okay, I need the data from the computer just to see what is going on. But first I wanted to see if it was possible to import it into a video editing application, and then I came at the XML format. And the XML format, just to be short, is a sort of advanced text file you can read and a machine can read. It is structured, it has a header, it has data blocks, it has a tail, and you can actually exchange data from one system or application to another. And in this case, it would be ideal if I could have all the information in an XML file and import it into a video editing application and have all the data over there. So then I contacted the technician of Gary Hill, Dave Jones, and he was so friendly to send us the data. First, some research in XML. I won't explain too much in here. This is just an example. This is the head. This is the data block. You see here the color blue for 4 seconds. This data block represents this color blue that lasts for 4 seconds, and this is what we want. This is the file name and the file location. This is the time code, how long it lasts. So every piece on a timeline, every video, every edit has this data block, and then the XML file ends with the tail. So, thanks Dave Jones for this great file. As you can see, he sent us all the data the computer is doing, and you see here the time code and what happens at every time code in every channel. So you see on out 1 is channel 1, channel 2, channel 3, channel 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I gave it a bit of a color so you can see what is what. And you see the number 1 and number 5 is when you see video. And these are just the colors. And you see how how much it is switching, because you already see at row 7, you see 28, 27, is the color green, but 28, 28, it's already on red. So it's switching a lot, and if you can see, it is totally, I think it's a total switches of 3,100, and that divided by 8 would be sort of 400 switches per channel in 90 minutes, and that's a lot. And Gary Hill designed that. This must be an awful job. So, what about it then? I wrote a script, because this is my creed. Automate all the things. I love this. Because we can't do this manually. I mean, there's so much work. So I wrote a script in Python. It's a very flexible scripting language in which you can import, export, convert data. And what it actually does, and I wrote a bit of pseudocode, so you don't have to understand all this. The code opens an Excel sheet, this Excel sheet. It creates an XML file, it writes the XML header, and then reads for one column all the rows. And every row it reads the time code, it reads the color, and then writes the data block, and it will do this for every row. So at the end, if it is done, it will write an XML tail, and it will close the XML file. And then you will have an XML file with 150,000 rows of code. So, and you do that for every channel. So, in the end, I think the script took 8 minutes per Excel sheet column to finish. So, in the end, you end up with the video files, you end up with the colors and the one XML file, which you import in Premiere in this instance from Adobe, and which automatically imports everything on the exact time. And there you have it. You have the whole sequence in a timeline. And we did this for all the 8 files. And so we could export it to 8 video files. And so we had all the sequences essentially saved from the equipment, which we could play on 8 media players synchronized, or which we could play on one media player with a multi-track player who could play 8 videos at the same time. So back to the museum, it malfunctioned. And they asked me to install a new version. So we took 8 BrightSign players, we synced them, we put the videos on, and it's playing perfectly. So. So this is actually the result, and I put it just in a picture so you can see how it looks like now. What we learned actually from this project is that it is so important to start conservation of a installation if the artist is still alive, and also the technician, because if they weren't, it would have been a hell of a job to conserve it. I mean, it would have been a challenge. I would have loved it, but this was so much easier, and it was great doing it. So Gary Hill was very pleased, and he asked me for the script to try on one of his other works. So yeah, that's it.